Brainiacs.
Hello.
We're back.
We are. We're
with
back.
more shenanigans.
We're back and better
probably
than
more
ever.
poo talk. Let's be real.
Let's be honest. There's a lot of bowel movements we need to discuss.
Oh.
We've probably had a lot in the last week.
One of mine was poo knife worthy, I'm just saying.
Whoa!
Is that an overshare?
We're kicking things off. Real classy.
I'll say no more. Don't worry.
Welcome to episode 209, everybody. This is exciting.
Welcome.
For sure. It's actually raining in LA.
I love it.
Maybe that'll make it spookier.
Ooh, are we talking about spooky stuff?
We should.
Oh.
Wait, let me see if I got music for that. It's
Rain in Los Angeles, and the scariest things are the bad drivers.
You know, the sad thing about the scary music is that it just makes me laugh.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. I want to hear, first of all, I'm just dying to hear about this Ferrari you told me you rented.
It's a bad idea to rent a sports car with me.
Why?
I'm too much of a control freak.
Okay, what happened? Take me step by step.
So
You rented?
So we were like, we're going to Palm Springs for the weekend just to get away.
And you have two cars.
Yes.
You own two cars already.
But Landon had met my husband and made a couple like wine trades and given some wine to, I guess, one of the guys who either works at or runs the Ferrari dealership down in Newport. And
one thing led to another.
He wanted to cash in on the favor and was like, hey, let's take a sports car out there for the weekend and drive real fast and blah, blah, blah. None of those things I want to do.
Right.
So
you were like,
whatevs.
Whatever makes you happy.
I was like, sure, whatever makes you happy, you can do that. We get in the car, and first of all, I'm so nervous for a million reasons. But
and you did specify to me that this was a silver vehicle, not yellow or red.
I told Lana, I was like, don't get
it wasn't like
that's annoying.
From an 80s movie.
Yes. He wasn't like, it didn't come with like a soundtrack. It was like a mustache.
Highway to the danger zone.
And I was like, we're definitely getting pulled over in this. But here's the thing. My husband's track record with motor vehicles, not so good.
Mm-hmm. What seems to be the problem?
Well, when we rented, now he's an excellent driver, I'm sure, but when we rented scooters in Thailand, he went off the road and scooter went over. When we rented ATVs in Costa Rica, same story. And when he went on, and then I totally forgot about this one.
He just has like a lead foot?
I don't know. It was like I think he maybe he's too cautious and you know how sometimes you gotta like zoom to get out of there, out of the trouble.
Yeah.
The danger zone, if
stutters.
You will. Yeah.
That's my biggest pet peeve on the road is you
go
or you don't go.
Or you don't you gotta go. And I think he goes when it's his car, but when it's like something that he rented or whatever, he does there's that little extra second.
Yeah.
And then when he what would you call it? Manned a boat. There's just this little like a dinghy around the harbor, and
I remember
turned a knob too far in one direction, and the knob came off in his hands, and the boat was going around in circles without a lever to control it. Like the lever that it was something like out of the Griswolds. Like the thing that he should be holding on to steer the boat was now broken off and in his hand. And he had like a 9-year-old on the boat with him who just looked at him like, what have you done? Like,
that would be scary.
And so in my head, I'm thinking like, oh God, this is going to end up like this. Or I've never, ever been in a vehicle that's like a fast, speedy car or vehicle or whatever, like motorcycle, with a dude who has not done something that made me feel dangerous, like at risk, who hasn't like taken a turn too fast because it's cool, or like my brothers all do it. Every guy I've ever dated who drove a motorcycle did that, and I hate that feeling. So the thing that feels really fun for him is the thing that puts panic, fear, and terror in coursing through my veins.
Yeah. So how did it turn out?
So panic, fear, and terror coursing through my veins, as one would expect. So
he was doing this stuff on purpose?
No. I mean, and he wasn't even doing. I think he like barely broke the speed limit. I think maybe he went 100 like once.
Whoa!
But I was just not. I mean, I am like a cautious Karen out there.
You're telling me that you went above 100 miles an hour?
Yes.
And you don't think that that's a big deal?
It's a huge deal, and I hated it. I hate that kind of crap.
I don't approve of that.
And so every single turn, I was like, and I just could not relax. And you should have seen me drive. We took the back road there. It was all windy roads, and it was raining, and I was just like a cat in a bathtub. You know, when they're like just on edge the whole time.
That's so funny.
That's me.
I really wish you had taken footage of this.
I mean, I took a couple pictures that maybe I'll post, but then I was like,
I mean, that's fantastic.
And then every time I was like, we don't need to race to the next stop sign. It's like that.
That's always stupid.
And then, it's like everybody who drives past you has to be a dickhead. Like
what do they do?
It's like 16, 17-year-old drivers who are like, like have to zoom around you and be like, oh, I'm faster than you. I'm like, okay, who buys those cars?
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Because I would not be okay with being with a man who was a driver of a Ferrari.
No, neither would I.
Unless Nolan drives a Ferrari.
In which case.
But I don't think so. I just don't think I'm into that kind of man.
No, I'm like more into like the slow and low driver.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Just it's like low riding and slow moving.
For real low riders?
Well, not like that, but yeah, kind of like just like where you have to chill out.
What about pickup truck guys? You into that scene?
No.
Really?
No. Where they're ridiculous, where I need like a step ladder to get in?
No, not necessarily. Just like the working man.
Is he working?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Does it serve a function?
Right.
If the answer is, my husband saw a commercial with like a Raptor, that truck that's a hideous monstrosity of a vehicle, and it was some football player. Oh God, I'll never remember who. One, I think he's kind of dumb, and he was like selling them, and I'm just like, now you want one of these? For what the fuck are you hauling?
He makes you put the Christmas lights up. This is not the car for him.
Get a truck. What are you going to be trucking? You're ridiculous.
God.
Your suits, when you pick them up from the dry cleaner, I'm sure.
That's hilarious to picture.
He's trucking around in suits. God. Right. I mean, I love him to death.
Yeah, going to pick up your ascot at the cleaners.
Okay.
Well, one thing you should never do is drink and drive.
That's for sure.
But you can drink and podcast. Thank God.
In fact, I recommend it.
In fact, there's really no other way to do it.
Right. What are we waiting for?
We aren't, because today we're drinking Bright Cellars, which is our favorite wine subscription company. And it's so fun because these MIT grads made this awesome quiz you take.
Love it.
You can go online and you take this real quick quiz about the types of foods and drinks you enjoy. And then they will send wine to your house that is designed to make you happy. And so it's really a fun service. And they have this whole algorithm that guarantees you're going to get some yummy stuff. And it's just really fun. And they've offered our listeners a deal. And I love a deal. You go to take the quiz to see your wine matches, and then you'll get 50% off your first shipment at brightcellars.com/braincandy. That's brightcellars as in winecellar.com/braincandy. And I think it's really fun. They have great customer service, and you can learn a lot about wine besides like, oh, that's a cute label. So give that a try.
Yeah. Speaking of wine.
Yes.
I read a study that was in the Journal of Agriculture and Food. I didn't actually buy the Journal of Agriculture and Food. Imagine if I did. I just, yeah, right.
Where did you see it?
No,
online.
Like an online thing. It's like some other magazine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put out there they don't have a subscription to agriculture. And
gotcha.
But studies show wine is good for the health of your teeth.
Okay.
It says
this is not true.
It says that it reduces the bacteria on them and prevents gum disease like gingivitis.
All right, I can see the the essence of this, because that's what Listerine is made of, is alcohol. But
I mean, there are other
here's
effects,
the problem
right?
with this alleged...
You'll die of liver cancer, but your teeth will look great.
But what about the acid? Because that's the problem with the teeth.
Didn't say that in there.
Weirdly, I read an article about how you would think red wine would be worse for the discoloration of your teeth. But it's actually white because it's higher in acidity.
And gets rid of your enamel, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it said that...
but it's so good, I want it now.
Let's say you have a glass of white wine, and then it's bedtime and it's time to brush your teeth.
Yes.
That brushing right after a glass of wine is worse.
Well, that's the only time I do it.
Of course! Because... the acid's working, and then you're like brushing it off. You're like brushing your teeth away. Great.
So really, we should just go to bed without brushing our teeth after we drink.
There's some evidence to suggest.
Well, this is just making my nighttime routine easier and easier. Thank you.
Right.
Science.
So I don't know, but so that's why I think your study there is dubious. I mean, who's doing this study?
Well, the Journal of Agriculture and Food.
They just want you to keep eating and drinking. I mean, they're like practically lobbyists.
Big wine. Big wine.
Big wine. But hey, I mean, I hope they're right.
Me too.
I mean, good in what sense, though? It kills bacteria.
Yeah,
okay.
and it can't stick to your teeth. The bacteria can't stick to there.
That's great, though.
It's like a barrier.
I'm into it.
It's like a happy
I think it's
wine
false,
barrier.
but great. I was reading about... you know that cookbook, The Joy of Cooking?
I sure do. I love it. It's one of the best. Except, I have a complaint. It does not have a recipe for tabbouleh.
First of all, what?
What?
Why? Sometimes this show is so funny to me because you didn't know I was going to talk about the joy of cooking.
But I just have that
Yet
complaint.
you have an opinion.
I do.
It's so specific.
Yeah, does not bring me joy. It has not brought me joy recently.
The pain.
It's really the pain and frustration of not knowing how to cook this specific
Refresh
meal.
my memory on what tabbouleh is.
It's
because you're into that
yes,
scene.
It's
and
like
I'm
Middle
not.
Eastern. It's parsley, couscous. Why are you already making
Well,
a
it's
face?
in the cilantro family.
Oh yeah, you probably wouldn't like it. Tomatoes, onions, and all like blended up in the food processor, and so it's like real fine.
Okay.
And then some lemon juice and olive oil and salt and pepper.
And then what? You put it on a spoon and put it in your mouth?
Yes,
Or does it
you
go
do.
on bread, like
You
a
can
naan
like
or something?
however you want to eat it.
Okay. Yeah, and you were looking for a recipe for that 5-ingredient dish. I think you just gave me the recipe.
I was wondering if there are any extra like mix in. Sometimes they say like you can add this and this. Joy of Cooking's real good like that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Is it because it's more Americanized?
I was thinking that maybe that's it. That it doesn't have, it maybe has classical cooking like French cooking and Italian cuisine, but not your Middle Eastern fare.
Right. Well, I was reading, the book has gone through so many different editions, and as you said, it's a classic, it's a staple, it's a great gift and stuff. And some dude, there's this guy, I think his last name is Bessinger, and he is known for doing studies. He's from Cornell, and he does these studies on food that like tend to make headlines. Mm-hmm. And I'm always cautious of scholars who are really interested in getting a lot of press. Mm-hmm. And this article was in the New Yorker, and it was talking about how he put out this article that claimed that over the years, the Joy of Cooking's recipes have increased in calories by 44% per serving. And he was saying that's why we're fat. Like, it's not just soda.
Cookbooks are against us.
It's the Joy of Cooking, whatever. And so then they did the Joy of Cooking, or maybe it was a journalist decided to do like, let's find out. Yeah. And found that this guy had only picked like 18 recipes out of like 450. Yeah. And that he included, for example, they had a chocolate cake that didn't indicate servings. It just had one cake. And so if you're counting things like one entire cake, then it's going to skew your results. And they basically debunked this thing.
Oh, good.
And the guy was like, yeah, I don't know. I stand by my study. But I get the impression from the article that this is a guy who like purposefully. In fact, when they were doing the investigation on this guy, they found these emails where he was like telling the scientists, like, just find some data that supports this claim.
Yeah. That's
not
real
science.
Yeah.
And so I think he just likes to get attention.
Yeah,
but why is he still being hired?
I was just listening to a TED Talk that was on pretty much the same subject, where this guy, I was on the way here, it was like an NPR little thing on it, and he was talking about how, big claims are made based on, these studies, like something out of the Agriculture and Food
Lobby
Journal.
Big wine.
Where it'll be the headline, the taggy, like gimmicky, whatever, clickbait stuff that's like everybody wants to read. But then when you really look into the science of it, it's kind of like, this is sort of boring.
Yeah.
And no real info.
Well, and that's the thing about science is that generally speaking, it is very small progress day to day on very specific things.
Guess what? Exactly what we thought. We still think.
Yeah. And so,
moving on.
When there's this many magazines and outlets and news, and they all want to have a story.
Yeah.
And so they are incentivized to then fudge
I was thinking that one of the most beneficial classes I ever took was a research methods class where we had to, really read the research. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, why don't they need to have news literacy classes?
Well, that is for sure.
Like in
literacy.
Yeah, or literacy. Just in, like in high school.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that you think they should pop into the old high school routine.
Yeah.
Like, banking.
I was going to just say that.
Finances.
Let's say balance checkbook, but we don't actually need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But just like the idea of
budgeting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
God, we never did that.
Nobody listens to us, though.
No.
You know what I mean? We have all these great ideas.
Tons.
Falling on deaf ears.
Yes. Except the brain candy brainiacs, and they are already literate.
They are very literate.
Yes.
I'll tell you what is based in science, though, is Beachbody on-demand, awesome exercise programs that use all kinds of amazing workouts to make your body stronger, fitter. Is that a word?
More fit?
More fit.
We'll go with it.
And just in better shape, which is why I love it. They have they have over 600 workouts. I search by time length. I think I told you.
Yeah. You're like a 12-minute.
10 minutes is like my sweet spot.
I need to even get on that.
Because then it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, you can say I can do 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or I'll do a yoga. They do a 3-week yoga retreat. I'll do that to just stretch and whatever. But they also have really intense stuff like P90X and Insanity.
I mean, come on. It's in the name.
Yeah. So whatever your fitness level, they have something for you. And I do it every day. I don't even take a day off anymore. I just do it every day. It's just a part of my routine. I've lost 8 pounds
your
now.
arms are looking so good.
Thank you.
Keep staring at you.
I wish.
Susie's wearing less clothes, I just wear more.
No, like I said before, my intention wasn't about weight loss, but it was really just like, let's get strong and feel good. And because the older I get, the grosser I feel,
Yeah,
so I don't want to do that. But I really want you guys to try it with me and see if you love it too. Right now, our listeners get a free trial membership, so you get access to the platform when you text Brain Candy. It's all one word, no spaces, to 303030. You get full access to the entire platform for free, all the workouts, and then they have nutrition information as well that you get for free. Just text Brain Candy, all one word, to 303030. And let me know if you like it too. We can hold each other accountable.
Oh my God.
We'll be those people.
Look at you.
Okay. I feel like I interrupted you. Did I?
No.
All right.
I don't think so.
If you follow me on my Facebook public page, I posted this really cute video, 4-minute short film called Wendy's Shabbat. And these old people in Florida, there's probably about 15 of them, meet every Friday at Wendy's for Shabbat. And it actually made me tear up.
Oh, is Wendy like a lady's house or a restaurant?
It's the restaurant.
Oh, like Wendy's,
the fast food joint.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, really, they said they were sitting by, I think they all live in a retirement community. They're Jewish, obviously. And they were sitting by the pool one Friday night and they were like, we didn't have anything to do. We didn't have anywhere to go. And we were like, why don't we have a proper Shabbat? But like, let's do it at Wendy's because it's $4 and you get all this food. And it brought a tear to my eye because that ritual is so meaningful. And to see how they support each other and they know that every Friday they can count on coming together and breaking bread or bun. And, I think that kind of a ritual is very powerful.
Yeah, and to have something every week is like...
Yeah, and the fact that it's at Wendy's, I love.
Yeah.
They call ahead and they reserve these tables.
Oh my God, I
and
love
then
that.
And the manager at Wendy's was talking about how they all have their very specific things. Like the one wants his fries well done. And stuff like that, which is so classic. It was really great. And I'll put it in the newsletter because if you watch it, I think you'll really like it. It's only 4 minutes, so it's not like a long thing. But I thought that's really beautiful. It makes me want to be a Jew.
We need more stories like that.
Yeah?
In
You mean
news.
on our show? Oh.
on our
life.
show, just in life.
Yeah. You got to seek them out.
Well, and that's kind of like one of the Blue Zone things where if you honor your elders and if you pay attention and don't, just hide them away, then it increases the lifespan of the community.
Yeah. Well, these folks were all old, but I don't know, probably because they do live in a retirement community, but like you do think a lot about how a lot of older folks are very alone.
Yes.
And how if you have something like that, maybe you could invite one because, then they would have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Because that would be very sad.
Oh my God. I posted a picture of my grandma because it was her 99th,
her birth anniversary.
Her birth anniversary.
Yeah, but she's passed.
She's passed. And some people who listen to the Brain Candy podcast and follow us on social media were people who worked at her old people home.
Oh my.
And they were like, she was a really nice lady. And I was like, you're so nice.
That's obviously beautiful, but that scares me. Do you think that they also watch your Insta story?
Yes.
Wow.
Also, the spin instructor at where do I go? The country club where I live. Yeah, there you go. She, shout out to the spin instructor. Somebody randomly came up to me and was like, hey, she told me that she listens to your podcast. I'm like, oh, okay.
No way.
Yeah, so I gotta...
Good Lord. We can't think about that.
I can't.
It would ruin the whole vibe if we really thought people listened. That we know.
Like, the person at the grocery store totally knows about my poop knife.
Gross.
I don't
but
have
true.
one. I don't have one.
She wants one.
I don't want one.
Okay, I have one for you.
Oh, I can't wait. I love when
I'm going to actually let you guess. What do you think is the trendiest woman's name in U.S. history?
Linda.
Did you already know that?
No, but I just guessed because we always say, sorry, Linda.
Yes.
Is it Linda?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I was like, she read the same article again.
No, I didn't. I totally guessed. Because it's like the kind of lady who, like, there's always a Linda at your office, and then it's always like,
Linda. in HR.
Yeah. You know that she probably had, like, parents who wanted her to be trendy, so they picked that name, and then, it's a whole thing.
Well, that is the whole thing with trendy names in general.
Right.
It isn't actually. Like, or unique names, as they often say. But I thought this was funny because a Brainiac posted it because we always apologize to our one listener who doesn't like when we swear, Linda. And, but I actually found the article to be interesting. So here's the scoop. Linda... I should put on my history music.
Yeah, history of Linda.
Yes, Linda peaked in 1947. That was the year that, like, the most Lindas were coming out of vaginas. And the weird thing is, it was due to this song that was written called Linda. And the song was weirdly written about a baby girl who was a friend of the singer, who ended up being Linda McCartney.
Oh, wow.
And so she was this 1-year-old baby that the song was written about. and then coincidentally, she went on to marry Paul McCartney.
That's crazy. It's like she was supposed to be part of the music industry.
It is really weird, but that song is what really made people love the name Linda. And then at that time, 5% of baby girls were named Linda. That is a lot.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah. 5% of baby girls born at that time were named Linda. And then, let me turn that off. Then other trendy names that they mentioned were Brittany, Deborah, Shirley, Ashley. And these were, this scientist had
name stuff.
Yeah, he had a formula for figuring it out. And it was based on like how many people were named that name, but then for how long of a time. Because if it's for a long period, that's not a trend. That's,
Oh,
like,
a popular name. Just
it's a classic,
Yeah. Were there any names like that were thrown out because they were just...
No, it just was listing like what he ranked on his scale of like what was the trendiest, and Linda was the most trendy.
God, I can't believe I guessed that.
I
knew I was in your brain for a second there.
I would think maybe like another one would be like Kathy. It really had
She's
a
the
run.
other lady in HR. You know it. She has passive-aggressive notes on her yogurt.
It's like
say,
Angela on the Office.
Kathy's yogurt. Ugh.
Do you know it? I don't even know really any
I don't.
Kathys. I had a friend named Katie in high school, but I insisted on calling her Kathy.
Oh my God, that's the best. Do you think she grew up to put notes on yogurt?
No. But like, I just thought, because her name was Catherine, and she went by Katie. I was like, who are you fooling?
It's Kathy. Oh, Kathy.
But you're right,
She's
baby
got
names.
Definitely a collection of sweaters with stuff embroidered on them.
It's weird,
my
though,
God.
how when you have a name, which is just a name, but you can imagine that person.
Oh, like so hardcore.
Yesterday when I was at the dentist, my dentist was like, you never meet a mean Susie.
You never do.
And that's a weird thing, because I'm sure there are, but
wonder,
like nobody
do I know
thinks
a mean
there
Susie?
are. You do. But I mean, you don't think of Susies as being mean.
No, they're nice.
What's a mean name?
A mean name?
Bridget. No, I don't know. Bridget. Somebody's going to write to me. I don't want to deal with it.
No, Bridget's not too bad.
All right. What's a mean name?
I'm trying to think of a mean name. I think Ashley is a mean.
Oh, we're thinking of different types of mean. You're thinking of like mean girls.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of Ashleys that are not going to appreciate that. I do think that's a very pretty name, though.
This is the what does Sarah think is the mean name game, not...
Well, who's actually mean, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my guess of names.
See, another trendy name I think of is Lisa. You don't meet any new Lisas.
I love the name Lisa, though.
Yeah?
I think it's cute.
Like, if you were going to have a girl, would you think, oh, Lisa Patterson?
No, I wouldn't, but I think it's a cute name.
And then, like, a guy's name that's went through a minute where people did it, and now nobody would ever name their kid Gary.
Oh, Gary is a horrible name. I'm sorry.
Nobody would ever get pregnant right now and be like,
Gary.
You know what we're going to call him? Gary. Gary.
What's Gary
Butler.
short for? Or what's that?
Garance.
No. Is that it?
No.
Oh,
it's not
like
short.
Terry.
No,
Terrence.
like Lawrence. Larry, Lawrence, Gary, Garance. No, not short for anything. That's what's kind of crazy.
Gary.
Garrett, I suppose.
Gary's an unfortunate name. I mean, unless your name's Gary, in which case I bet you're a cool dude. There's no Garys listening to this.
If your name is Gary and you're listening right now, please write to me or Delia. Oh, God, that's
still
funny.
Trying to think of some mean names.
Well, you know what else is really popular, though, is really good sheets.
Yeah, tell me about it. I cuddle up in mine every night.
I just cannot say enough good things about Brooklinen, which is our favorite sheet company. And I just bought a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Adam's going to love these. And I was going to do, because I saw one of our listeners did polka dot with stripes.
I love it.
Like polka dot pillowcases with striped sheet. I was like, that is adorable. I'm doing that. And then I got the pinstripe sheets, and my husband's like, oh, it's causing my eyes. Like,
what?
It makes me feel dizzy.
Oh, because
like,
the stripes are too close together?
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, boy, I'm not consulting you about sheet patterns.
No,
I'm not doing it.
No.
But he actually grew to love them. But it was just his first, like, I don't know if my eyes can take. Oh, stop it.
They're mooring.
They're so soft and really cool. And like I said, you can do like mix and match patterns, which is really cute. It's founded by this couple who were like, let's get really nice luxury hotel sheets, but not make people go bankrupt to buy them. And they won the best online bedding category of Good Housekeeping. They're just really, really wonderful, and they're underpriced. You have to try them. Let me give you the scoop. So, brooklinen.com, that's where the exclusive offer is for our listeners, and you get $20 off and free shipping when you use our promo code BRAIN at brooklinen.com. They're so confident that they offer a risk-free 60-night satisfaction guarantee and a lifetime warranty on all their sheets and comforters. The only way to get $20 off and free shipping is to use promo code BRAIN at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com, promo code BRAIN. They're the best sheets ever. They're the most comfortable sheets I've ever slept on, and I love a deal. So give that a try. Mm-hmm. Okay, Linda, we can move away from that conversation.
Oh, man.
That made me laugh, though.
There are a lot of songs with the name Sally in it.
I only know one. Eric Clapton's Lay Down, Sally.
Then there's, there are a lot. No, there are.
You can't name one.
Yes, I
this
can.
This is the best. First of all, why are you announcing this?
I was just thinking that there are a lot of names there, because one time I was thinking about, I'll make a playlist for my mom with all the songs that have her name in it. And there were
Mustang Sally.
Mustang Sally.
Okay.
Then there's, there's another one that I just was listening to the other day that has the name Sally.
Hers would be considered a trendy name because it had a moment and then it's over.
It should come back. I like that.
I bet it will.
I think it will.
It seems
too.
like one of those ones people are going to get into again. Like, you know how they're naming kids like old people names now?
Yes, Eleanor is like climbing the ranks.
Yeah, a lot of those.
That's grandma's name.
Yeah, I noticed though in your Instagram that she spelled it weird.
ELINOR?
Yeah, the I is unusual.
Oh, they do ELA.
Yeah.
NOR. Yeah.
Right. I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Wonder what...
Just a surprise eye. She keeps you on your toes like that. She's like, surprise, here's an eye.
I mean, it's just weird how naming kids is so fraught, too.
What does that mean, fraught?
Like, you don't want to... It's loaded.
Oh,
like,
my
you
God.
don't want
Tell me about it.
Complicated.
Sure.
You don't want to tell people, like...
Everybody's got an opinion.
And it's based on, like, well, I knew a Gina and whatever, and she was mean. And it's not based on, like, anything actually about the sound of the name. Anyway, what else did I want to talk to you about? There was this cool article I read about a guy who owned a restaurant. He was a black guy, and he decided he was going to charge white people
I saw this.
$30 for a meal, and people of color could buy the meal for $12 a meal. What do you think about that?
I think it was interesting how, and then he told the people of color who bought the meal that if they wanted to, they can collect money later from whatever they made, whatever the difference was that they made from the meals that white people purchased.
Yeah.
So it's basically like
redistribution.
Yes, redistribution of wealth. And how many people of color turned down getting the money.
Yeah.
And then how many white people were okay with paying more.
It's so interesting. But the weird thing about it is that, like, when he would offer them the food, like the white people, he'd be like, that's $30 for you. But if you were a person of color, it would have been a lot cheaper. Yeah. Like, the white people were like, okay.
Yeah.
Most
that's
of them.
what I was saying.
Some people were mad, but
I wouldn't have been. I've been like, take more of my money. We deserve it.
And then some people of color were like, no, it's okay. We have good jobs. We'll pay the...
Yeah.
And he was like, nope. No, you're not allowed. What do you think of that?
What do you think what do you think he was trying to get across with that? Or what do you think that shows?
I think he was trying to demonstrate the imbalance, and that even if you are a person of color who has a great job and makes tons of money, that you probably would be making way more if you were a white guy, you know, because you had other challenges that white people don't.
Yeah.
So you still deserve a break.
Yeah. I think that I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a cool sort of social experiment. And then he didn't make any extra money. He gave it all away, as you said, and redistributed it, or at least offered to. And I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah, me too.
But I wasn't into the cuisine. I forget what kind it was.
Yeah. I was like looking at that too. I'm like, what kind of food are we offering here?
It was from some country.
Was it Haitian? I want to say it was something like that.
Maybe. And that was another part of it, that he was talking about the racial disparity from that country, I think, as well.
It might. That rings a bell, but I could be just making that up.
I'll pay $30 for a meal, but not what I don't know. That was my only problem with it.
What are you paying $30 for? Like Mediterranean? Yep, I'm in.
Pasta, steak.
Oh, okay.
Surf and turf. Sushi.
Going real fancy. Yeah. You want to get your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We have a fun interview in this episode I'm excited about. And Sarah's in this interview. People don't like it when it's just me, I know, but
it's me, folks.
Sarah,
you get both of us.
It really isn't a strategic thing. It just comes down to when we can record stuff.
Right. There are only so many hours in a day, people.
And I happen to live
at
where the microphone is. So it's a lot easier for me. But luckily today's interview worked out so that we could both enjoy it. And okay, so I want to know, like, what is the deal with Mortified?
With my obsession with the show.
Okay,
so
tell them what it is.
It's called The Mortified. Now, okay,
Mortified Nation.
Mortified
is
Nation
the
is the documentary, and then they have a web series, not a web series. They have a series on Netflix that's called like The Mortified Diaries, I think. And in every episode, they have a different theme. So it'll be like The Mortified Guide to Sex and Love, The Mortified Guide to like Teenage Crushes. And it's people who will get on stage in like a comedy club, and they will read their diaries or stories, or, you know, basically their writing from when they were in junior high or like years ago.
Yeah.
And it is hilarious and heartwarming. I mean, so funny. It was one of my all-time favorites. Is a girl who's, you know, it's a lot of times they're like discovering their own sexuality, and so like they don't really know the words for things or feelings, so they just are writing what they think things are called. And one of my favorites is one girl who was really into Harry Potter, and she was really into fan fiction, and so she was like, I'm going to write the best fan fiction story I can about Harry Potter, and then I'll get famous, and people will like, you know me as I'll become the Harry Potter fan fiction writer. She was like 13 at the time, must have been 13 or 14. And so first she thought, okay, well, I know what I have to do. I have to read a whole bunch of other fan fiction, and I have to see what are the main themes. Well, it turns out the main theme in a lot of fan fiction is coming of age homosexuality stories.
Really?
So she ends up writing. Because I think a lot of times these fan fiction stories, maybe depending on what website you're looking at, go to the more erotic side of things.
Okay.
And so she ends up writing this story about like Harry Potter's coming out and his love affair with Ron Weasley and one of the other kids. And it is absolutely hilarious hearing a 13-year-old girl describe what it feels like to be a homosexual boy. And it just cracks me up. And then they have, like people who will act out each part, and it's just so funny, and it's so heartwarming because like we were all
What's the essence of the writings usually?
Oh, it's usually a lot of conflicted feelings. There was
so
another
dumb.
girl who said that she always had a thing for men in uniform. But then went on to say that her idea of a man in uniform was the waiter at Claim Jumper. And the guy who ran the backlot tour at Universal Studios.
My God.
And those are her men in uniform that she's in love with. And so she just like talks about it. She's like, I couldn't stop thinking of the man in uniform at Claim Jumper. My family was there again. I couldn't make eye contact with him. And just like the hot burning in her loins.
How old are most of these? Like 13-ish?
I would say between like 13 and 15. I mean, sometimes it's, conversations that like chat room conversations and logs between two people that somebody had saved, and it's like their weird conversations, and it's just so we were all there once, like I just was so awkward at that point in my life, at most points in my life. But just like extra
and to this
weird.
day.
And to this day.
Wow.
And it just made me just think, oh my God, I am not alone in my awkward weirdness. Mm-hmm. We all think that we're just the weirdest.
Yeah. As a
weirdest.
parent, I'm interested about like how to make your kid not feel.
No, it's impossible.
Why? I don't agree at all.
I think they should go through
I did
that
not
phase.
have that in me at all.
You didn't feel like you were awkward? Like there was
I was. If I look at myself, I'm like, oh, you're disgusting and didn't, look nice and all this. But at the time, I was like, I feel great.
Well, that's really good. But I mean, you didn't have that like I don't know if it's more like, who am I?
Yeah.
What does it all mean?
But I'm saying I want to gift my child with what I had, which is like a total sense of being comfortable with who I was.
Yeah.
But how do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably not by calling him a dimwit and stuff.
Hey, dingbat.
Yeah. I don't know. But maybe it's just who you are.
I mean, I feel like my mom set me up perfect for,
confidence.
Yes.
Yes. And what happened to you?
Who knows? It was like I was too confident for, I think, I don't know, you like need this perfect amount of confidence and also a lack of confidence to, if you're too confident, then people are like, oh, you're a weirdo. So I think I got flung into that category, and then I was there for too long, and then I was like, oh no, I'm a weirdo over here. So then you start self-doubt and all that creeps in.
Right. Well, I'm excited that one of the creators has decided to come on this show and sort of give us the scoop on how he came up with the idea and like why he wanted to explore this. And I mean, it's kind of bonkers, like just how it all came to be and how it's turned into this phenomenon.
With so many wonderful things that come from it.
Yeah, as you said.
Yeah.
Because it does connect people. Because most people have experienced
Oh my God.
that.
And like we'll play it in the background as like I'm falling, or Landon's falling asleep and I'm still awake, and I'll go to turn it off. He'd be like, no, just leave that on. He's like comforted by the stories of other weirdos.
Well, let me take a break and see if you guys have tried the Ritual vitamins, which are amazing. Mm-hmm. I am obsessed with them. I think I told you guys I have had horrible luck with vitamins in my life, and so they would always make me sick because
bad stomachache.
They smell and they're gross. And I was so excited about these because they smell like mint because they have peppermint essential oil in them, and they taste great, and so they don't make you sick also because they're time release. And so you don't have that nauseous, gross feeling. And they're perfect because they have all the stuff that you need with none of the stuff that you already are good with, whether it's vitamin D or omega-3, they got you covered. And if you go to their website, you'll be able to see why they're so amazing and why I'm a believer. I'm never going back. They're subscription-based, delivered to your door, and it fills the gaps in your diet with the best sorts of ingredients. So things that you're not getting when you eat, you can get through Ritual. And you can snooze your order, and so it'll come whenever you need them. Forget everything you thought you knew about vitamins. Ritual is the brand that's reinventing the experience with 9 essential nutrients women lack the most. If you're ready to invest in health, do what we did and go to ritual.com/braincandy. Your future self will thank you for taking Ritual. Consider it your lifelong health 401k. Why put anything but clean ingredients backed by real science in your body? Go to ritual.com/braincandy. All right, let's introduce our guest, who is one of the creators of Mortified. His name is Dave Nadelberg. You can find him on Twitter. It's at davenadelberg.com, or you can follow at Mortified, and his website is getmortified.com. Sarah says this show and the film are hilarious and heartwarming and connect all humans. So what is not to love about that? Let's welcome Dave to the show. So, Dave, why is it? Tell me about how this all came to be in the first place.
Yeah, so Mortified began 15 years ago somehow. I had found a love letter that I wrote to somebody when I was in high school.
And you never gave it to them?
And I never gave her this love letter because I was a total chicken. And,
or a genius who foresaw the future.
Exactly. Thank you. That's how I'll frame it in my brain.
Yeah.
And so, my fear of telling somebody and being honest and confessing something, wound up kind of becoming a latent thing because later I wound up sharing that, just not with her, with strangers. when I came up with the idea for Mortified. And so now there's tons of people with letters and diaries and all sorts of things that they wrote when they were teenagers, reading them on stage at Mortified. And we now have shows in 20 cities worldwide in 5 languages. We have this new TV show on Netflix, podcast, etc.
So do you think when people share these stories, or at least for you, it seemed almost like cathartic, and that you kind of got something back from sharing something that maybe the control was kind of switched? Do you feel like that happens for most people, or is that something special? I don't know, if the story was really intense or something.
Yeah, I mean, for me, reading something I wrote when I was younger, whether it's something I actually share on stage in Mortified or whether it's something that I just, share with a friend or something, it really informs me a lot about myself. And I'm always fascinated by the power it has. It feels terrifying. It feels humiliating in some ways, and it also feels liberating and cathartic because it's kind of like you're just sort of owning up to who that kid was, and yeah, and so I think there's sort of a brazenness that feels really like a load is off your shoulders. I know you said you recently found something you wrote. At least you mentioned that on Twitter. Did you feel that? Didn't you?
This is what I was thinking with listening to a lot of the Mortified stories on the Netflix documentary. Is I think there's a certain amount of time that has to pass where you can't even be a little bit. I guess some of those parts of the story can't resonate too strongly with you because you're like, oh, that's maybe I'm still kind of like that. But if it happened long enough in the past, then it's oh, I'm definitely not that weirdo anymore. So there's, I think, some more freedom in sharing it. My junior high, diary I was flipping through, and I'm like, oh my God, I could definitely share this, sappy stuff. But then I was just looking at one from 2008. And, I just think I'm some poetic genius then. And I'm just oh, God, I definitely can't share that with anyone.
You definitely were.
But
Well, what do you think would have happened if you had given her that letter?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so my life would be very different. I wouldn't be talking to you. I would be on a different path.
Wow.
This is sort of the neat thing about, and I'm not a big believer in fate, but I do find, this idea. I love the idea that this stranger who who, by the way, has no idea about any of this. Like, I barely know her. I know enough, like, I know kind of where she lives.
Oh, my God.
Like, meaning in what state she lives, but I don't know much more than that. And I love that this person has no idea that she inspired something that not only changed my life and has brought me a lot of joy and allowed me to meet a lot of really fascinating people, but is really, she inspired something that changed a lot of other people's lives. People have met through Mortified, had gotten married because of Mortified, had babies in Mortified. I'm not in Mortified, but as a result of meeting. We've even had people like get, do wedding proposals on stage because like somebody had seen, a couple of years ago we made a documentary for Netflix. Now we just released a new TV series on Netflix. But like somebody had seen the documentary and was like, oh my God, my girlfriend and I, it was their first date. And she and her girlfriend wound up, she wound up surprising her girlfriend on stage at the end of one of our Valentine shows in Dallas. And so stuff like that has happened, which, has had profound effects on people's lives. And I love that there's this mystery element sort of fueling all of it, which is like that this, what if I hadn't done that? And who is that person even,
That drives me crazy, though, that I am fascinated by those choices that we make in our life where in that moment, everything changed. When you made the choice not to give that letter, your life completely changed unbeknownst to you. That is so freaky.
It's real freaky. I mean, that's the way our lives fork. And Mortified is very much about like who we are in our relationship to our past and present self and the choices that we made that got us here. So it's like, there's in third grade, had you chosen to sit at table number 1 instead of table number 2, and if you had brought a Capri Sun to lunch one day instead of bringing a bag of Fritos, which led you to meet your best friend because you traded lunch snacks or something like that, your life could have gone in a completely different way. And that's really fun to always think about, I think.
Do you have any favorite topics? I love how you guys do, or at least on the series, they're, different themes like family or love and sex. Do you have any favorite topics that you like hearing about?
Yeah. So we have this new series called The Mortified Guy that's on Netflix now, and each episode is broken up into themes, right? And one theme that we didn't do in the series, but we almost did, is a theme that I love hearing teenagers sort of wrestle with, which is religion and God and faith.
Yeah.
And I just find it fascinating when kids get philosophical. And
that's what a lot of my writing looks like.
Yeah. I think we wound up not doing it because we were worried that it would be a little too one note. But it's a note that I love. I really enjoy hearing kids tackle big life issues. I also really like something we get to do in the series is deal with everything from like people reading aloud their teenage diaries that are like crushes or their first boyfriend or their first girlfriend or whatever. But then you deal with get to focus on some pretty heavy stuff, like somebody dealing with wrestling with shame and their sexuality or their weight or their friendlessness, their sense of isolation. At some point in one of our episodes, there's a guy who's paraplegic.
Oh, I love that one. It was so good.
Yeah, and he talks about the importance of friendships and how something that he learned as a teenager really came to help him when he went through a life crisis that left him in a wheelchair. And so I like getting to tackle these dark things through Mortified because we always do it through a comedic lens. But even, if we can make you laugh and cry, that's we've done our job.
How would you compare yourself to the guy that wrote that letter when you were young? Are you the same fundamentally?
Yes and no. I now have back pains and, and I'm in a Pilates class because of it. I'm crying every day because of it. But you know, yeah, I mean, we're both the same mess of anxieties and confusion and frustration and self-loathing and all those things. And then I also have a lot of advantages that he didn't have, which is time. And I know that things don't really kill me because, you know, I'm still here. And so like things, you know, you survive. And that is something he didn't know. And so when I was a teenager and dealing with, you know, depression or anything like that, you know, it's hard to keep the world balanced. I think it's hard to get a good perspective of the world. And I think at 43, which is what I am now, I at least have that. I still might be a neurotic mess in other ways, but I at least have that.
What were you doing before all this began? Were you a documentarian?
No, I live in Los Angeles and I moved here to write animated features. Like I wanted to be like a Pixar guy or work for Jim Henson. And I actually wound up selling a bunch of scripts and having a bit of success in my early 20s. And it was like, oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh, this is so exciting. And, you know, I went to Australia and shot like a TV pilot for UPN, and it was like a big deal. And then everything imploded at once. And I wound up, this leads to Mortified, because I wound up in the ashes of that, being very frustrated with the machinery of Hollywood and being like, I just want to do something where I'm my own green light one night, where I'm not going to hear like some executive's dumb notes that are going to water down whatever project I'm doing and make me feel disempowered. And so I rented a theater and I just said, you know, I'm kicking around this idea for some love letter show, which is the time I was calling Crush Nights. And then at some point, so I rented this theater, and at some point I figured out that it was more than love letters. It was diaries, it was poems, and it was called Mortified. And but that out of that failure, out of that sort of misguide, you know, if I hadn't had that failure, if I hadn't had that moment of pause to go like, oh, I just want to do something where I make an audience laugh or make an audience emotionally react, and I have the power to do it, which I would have only done. I only did that because I had a moment of failure where I was like, I just have to do this. Mm-hmm. Had any of those, you know, TV shows gone, maybe I wouldn't be doing any of this, and I would have been on a different path. And
it's such wonderful work. I mean, I have not watched a single episode without tearing up and like getting emotional. So I think there's a lot to learn from.
That's lovely to hear, and I hope. I mean, our big hope with Mortified is we want people to watch it, but we want it to be an interactive thing where after you watch it, you take it and you make it about your own life, and you share with your friends, or you go online as you did, and you talk about, you know, some shred of your life, or you dig up some artifact and share it with somebody in your life, like a poem you wrote, anything. It winds up being a very, if you share something you wrote and then have a discussion after it, and that discussion is basically what's similar about you and what's different about you, you learn so much about yourself. It's also a super good excuse to drink some wine. And
as if we need one.
Right over here.
Yeah. As if you, in fact, we just released a new book that's all about that. We released a guided journal. I don't know if you're into guided journals, but
she's into guided journals.
Oh, sweet. So we have a book called My Mortified Life that is, and the subtitle is a guided journal to help you gauge, you know, how much you've actually changed since childhood. So literally the book is filled with questions, writing prompts that are fun about various topics that are designed to make you talk about your life today. Like, you know, like what's the biggest fight you had in the past year? You know, maybe it's with your friend, maybe it's with your spouse, maybe it's with a coworker or some weird guy on the street who almost hit you with his car, right? And so, like, why'd you get in that fight? And how did it resolve? Did it resolve? And are you still mad about it? All that stuff. And then you think, and then so that's one page of the book. And literally on the adjoining page, it'll say, now think about the biggest fight you had growing up. Who was it with? How long did it last? Why did it, you know, same questions.
I need that journal.
Yes, that's my mortified life. So like,
you kind of
and
see
then at
if,
the bottom, you wind
changed.
up rating yourself how much on a scale of 1 through 5. How much have I changed? And at the end of the book, you can kind of average up all your points to determine, oh my God, I am completely the same freak I was when I was 11. Or,
I wish. She was so awesome. I
So
miss
that's-
her real bad.
Now you were
She's a good
talking
freak.
about were talking about similarities and differences. You know, I can't help but think there's so many different people who are sharing their stories, but
Yeah.
I'm so shocked that everybody saved their stuff. And like, is this just something that we all do, or do you find a similarity or like a common
I
thread?
would think women do, but I'm surprised that men do.
Oh, I mean, it just seems like there's such a range of people, and I would think it's a certain type who like documents all this, but it doesn't.
Well,
seem
basically, it is a type. It's the type of people that do save. You know, there's a lot of people who wrote stuff and then torched it.
Yeah.
I'm a very, I think, sentimental person, and so I think I have a hard time throwing things away. So I'm a saver of stuff, but there's a lot of people who aren't. And you're correct. Women tend to be not just our audience, but women tend to be the people who wrote the most and who also saved the most.
Yeah.
So you know, there are plenty of men in the project, but it's definitely it definitely leans female. And
what's your deal? Are you single or what's happening?
where did that come from?
Well, I was thinking about that lady that never got the damn letter, and I'm like, wait,
This is my weird, creepy. Like way to just like date women. Just like,
no, I'm just like, you
like
seem
a
so
15-year
lovely.
game plan, long con. I'm hoping one day podcasting will exist so that a podcaster will try to set me up with her 15 years later. And by the way, not even 15 years later, because 25 years later. Yeah, I have a girlfriend at the moment, yes.
Okay, all right. So we'll put that on the back burner.
Yeah.
All right, that's allowed. You just seem like you're so nice, and you were the kind of guy that wrote a love letter and then cared enough to save it. Somebody ought to be enjoying you.
Are you still writing love letters?
Yeah, good question.
You know what? I don't know if I've ever written one and given a love letter. I have written like poems, like back in the day.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
But that's not a recent thing. You know what I have done in more recent like adult relationships is probably like songs or whatever. I'm a terrible singer and I'm a terrible piano player, but I really like doing both.
Well, that's
fine.
So many years ago.
We'll let it go.
I love how this turned into like us putting his love life on trial.
Yeah.
Has there ever been anything that you guys have done that hasn't been put out into the ether or put into one of your documentaries or the shows that you remember as being really special, but you don't, that the world hasn't seen?
You mean just like that we haven't been able to release for whatever reason?
Yeah, that didn't make the cut.
Well, some of the stuff that is in Mortified Guide, which is the new series on Netflix, was originally shot for a movie, Mortified Nation. So, for instance, the paraplegic, he was actually originally intended to be the end of Mortified Nation. Mm-hmm. And for a bunch of reasons, it just didn't work out that we didn't use him. We used somebody else as the final story in that movie. But we were always knew that we wanted to use it. So there are definitely some things that we have recorded that, hopefully we'd get a season 2 and we get to share more stuff with people. But there's specifically one piece by a man named Sean who, oh man, it's so good. He recorded, this guy has a heart of gold. He recorded lip sync music video, love letters to this girl. And he in these videos, he has short jean shorts and a half shirt and a mullet, and it's Wisconsin in the 1980s.
Oh my God.
And it's pretty incredible to see Sean's thing. But unfortunately, he's lip syncing. A lot of it deals with him lip syncing to copyrighted music.
Gosh,
and the
darn it.
cost of us including him on a thing on television or Netflix or whatever Netflix is was
Cost
more than our budget.
Yeah.
But there's a silver lining to that, which is we recently got into the Sundance Film Festival, and while we were there, I said, I really want us to do a live Mortified show at the festival. But secretly, the real reason I wanted to do that wasn't for the, cool factor of doing that. I mean, that was also part of it. But I really just wanted Sean, who had been cut from all things Mortified. He happened to be a Sundance volunteer for the past 15 years of his life, which is the exact same time span that the show Mortified has existed. And I was like, if I can get him on stage to perform in front of all of his element, like he can invite all the Sundance people he wants, and they can just see him shine and be a rock star on stage for a night, I will have done whatever I need to do on earth. And it happened, and he got this standing ovation, and the head of Sundance was there, and he invited him to perform at like the end of the festival staff meeting, and it was really amazing.
Wow.
It seems like really good things come from sharing your deepest, darkest secrets with the whole world on stage.
It's true. I mean, and we get crazy letters we get, really beautiful things. Like, a woman wrote us the other day saying how she was watching our pop culture episode. And the end of our pop culture episode deals with somebody who's coming out of the closet. And she said, I was watching this with my daughter, and I've always known my daughter was gay. And my daughter looks to me and says, Mom, I have something to tell you. This is like right when they were watching it or right after. And she says, I like girls. And it was like this big, here's somebody taking their truth. And more important than that, I think, is, they're having she chose to tell her mom. And I don't know, I just thought that was really nice.
Wow.
And we hear all sorts of, there was like, somebody wound up like their diary got confiscated due to some like court proceeding and by the cops, and we got some crazy letter that like somebody's diary wound up like getting held up, but listening to the podcast made them gave them the courage to give their this is what it was. Somebody wrote in their diary about an affair they had with a teacher, which. But it was years ago, and with the whole Me Too stuff, and it was just sort of in the thick of all this. And she said, and she gave the diary. The cop said, "You're going to have to give your diaries as evidence because it has pages in there that say what you did with this man who's and she was under the age of 18." And she said, "Okay," and she was originally terrified to do that, and she said, I didn't like the idea of giving my teenage diary. I already felt violated by this adult, and now I'm going to feel violated by all these like strangers in a police station. And she said, but in driving to the police station, which was like an hour away for some reason, she would listen to podcasts, and her friends recommended, just coincidentally, the Mortified podcast. So she's hearing people read their diaries, and she said, if they can share their diaries with strangers in order to get laughs, I can do it in order to get justice and stop this guy from molesting some other girl. And I was like,
smokes.
Fuck.
Yeah,
fuck.
Right?
Making changes.
Like so I was like, okay, this was not the intent of Mortified.
Right. You never know how you're going to affect people.
Yeah. And there's something
that's what
really
I'm saying
powerful
about this.
with helping people get through the past trauma. Things that we've registered as trauma. Like if you look at it through, like you said, the lens of comedy, we can be like, okay, it wasn't that bad.
Did you both write a lot of stuff growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like journals.
Yeah, Sarah's ridiculous.
I mean, then I'm like, what does it say about me that I threw away everybody else's crap but just kept my own? As if I was like, documenting my life. And then come on.
Well, it makes sense that you'd end up on the Real World if you want your whole life documented,
God,
you weirdo.
Such a weirdo. I was like, this is going to be important one day. No, not at all.
Well,
that's funny.
I want to know one last thing. Well, actually,
sure.
We ask everybody what they keep in the trunk of their car, so I do need to know that, first of all.
Okay.
So let's hear it, Dave.
Is this supposed to be a funny answer, like a dead body answer?
No, it's supposed to be
true.
We just believe that there's some truth to you are what you keep in your trunk.
Yeah, like represents where you are in your life.
Okay.
Yes.
I think then this is very accurate. in the trunk of my car is a bike rack for a bike that I haven't used in 2 years. But I'm convinced, like, oh yeah, but I might need it. I might get back on the bike.
I am a cyclist at heart.
I might. It's all about potential. It's
I
all
get
about
it.
like believing
I like
the
that.
narrative that you are a good, healthy person instead of the guy who eats Doritos on his couch all night.
Right. Okay, that's good. I like that. And then I was just curious, of all the words, why you chose mortified to be the emotion.
I love that you asked that. Gosh, I think I was talking with this woman who was a colleague I was working at this company, and I told her about this love letter show I wanted to do at some point. She says, oh, well, I found my diary, blah, blah, blah. And as she was telling me about this, I thought two thoughts. One was, oh, my show should not just be love letters. And the second thing was, she was telling me about like she found it and she was mortified. But I remember thinking, and she might have even said like how she, in one of her diary entries, something happened and as a teenager, she was mortified. And I kind of liked the double edge, the double use of it, where it's like you're mortified looking back, but even if you're not really mortified looking back, at the time you were mortified about everything because you were so dramatic. And I was like, oh, I like that. That said, had I named the show now, had I known that social media would exist and be a thing that you have to search, for, I wish I had named it like Mortified Nation or Mortified Guide or Mortified with 2 Ds or something that was so that when you look up Mortified in Twitter, you only find my thing.
Yeah.
But instead you find lots of people who are saying, I'm
They're just
mortified
genuinely
about
mortified.
the government.
Right. Well, I do love it, though.
I think it's such a great name.
I love that it's rooted in the sort of the word that means to be human, mortal, and that, we all share that same thing. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, well, yeah. And actually in San Francisco coming up in a month, we're going to be doing a show. It's rare, but we're doing this whole death-themed show to raise awareness for this campaign that's all about, like, promoting, like, conversations about grief and removing stigma. And so it's like diaries about death, but it's funny, even though that sounds not funny.
Yeah.
And the reason I like that is like the root of mortified is death. Mort it really means embarrassed, humiliated to the
death.
point of feeling of dread and death.
Right. I love that. See, that's clever. And yeah, hashtags aside, it's a great name.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So, well, I hope you'll check out especially since you said you like guided journals.
I need that.
Yeah, My Mortified Life, I think you'll learn a lot about yourself, but definitely the Netflix series for those who are not as ambitious to write
Yeah,
a diary
right.
today.
I hope everybody checks it out. And I want to be your friend now, too, okay?
Well, come to the show and we'll be friends.
Okay.
I'll put you on a guest list.
My God, it's so fancy.
Well, why don't we actually, what I would like to really do is we should, like, if you have material from your past, we're always looking for stuff. And
Count
it's
us
not an
in.
audition.
Oh, yeah.
We don't care about talent. We don't care whatever. We just sit down with you and we
Great.
really help you figure out
Better.
we just help you figure out what of your childhood writings is going to be funny to strangers. And so, sometimes we're able to find enough stuff and we put people on stage. So I would love to. And if nothing else, like I said, it winds up being a very weird, cathartic, therapeutic thing.
Yeah,
We
we need
love
to
that.
sort it out. That's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start looking through and putting Post-it notes on the important stuff.
Sarah will
Because
go
you're
into her
in
archives.
California, right? You're
Yeah,
in Southern
yeah.
California. Huntington Beach, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all right. You're stuck with us. This sounds perfect. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for
BFF.
talking to us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And I hope everyone checks out your show. It's so fun, and we'll all be mortified together.
Yeah, and you can find it at getmortified.com or at Mortified on Twitter.
All right. Thank you so much. You're off the hook now.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Chatting with us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye. This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.